Okay.
Hang on, I'm going to sneeze.
That's all right.
Oh, what a great
Mind if I
name.
sneak
No,
by a
no,
microphone?
That's your real name?
That's my real name.
That's fabulous.
Not Hometown Cable, Calvin Castine.
Calvin
Castine.
Castine. That's like an actor's name.
Oh, I know that's a bad actor.
Oh, sorry.
Are we rolling? Okay, I guess we're rolling. We're here with Eliza Jane and Almanzo. They might go by other names at other times, but here that's who you are.
It is.
And you both did, along with Bill over there, we'll talk to in a moment, did such a great job of explaining the background of what you've got. I've kind of run out of questions here, but I did want to talk to you a little bit. Eliza, I think, 18 episodes with over 3 seasons? They kind of kept you... You're sitting by the phone all the time waiting for
well,
that call?
I tried not to do that. I tried to stay busy in other ways.
But I went through the IMBD site there, and you had you had an ongoing career in a lot of different movies and TV series.
I was lucky. I got my first union job in 1967. Were you born?
Yes, I was born in 1947.
Oh, okay.
So there.
So that works out.
So, and you said you're a figure skater, and
Yes.
So you got right into the acting at an early age. If you were up in Ogdensburg, and
Yeah.
there was a great, I can't remember the guy's name, a character actor who was from Ogdensburg, and
Oh, really?
he played Flash Gordon's father on the TV series.
Oh, no way.
I can't remember his name right now.
Wow.
But he was from Ogdensburg, and he was living in Vermont for a while. And
Isn't Remington from Ogdensburg too? The artist?
Oh yeah, the museum. Yeah,
Yeah,
There's a beautiful
yeah.
museum there. Yes. Oh yes. So
Oh,
that's-
wow.
Yeah. So that's a great place. And Dean, you hadn't heard of this stuff at all till you got involved.
No, I had not. It has been this amazing surprise continually for 34 years since that first experience, sitting down in the office, as Lucy did with Michael Landon, to, as she said, in the jeans and boots and Carrera glasses with a cigarette in his teeth. I'll never forget that. And he's looking at us as we're reading, and, he was anything but a poor dirt farmer.
Yeah.
But he played one on TV and did it really, really well, and we are so lucky to have been a part of it.
And you think of actors who've had 3 successful roles in the TV series. I can't think of anybody else outside of Michael Landon who was able to do that. Starting as Little Joe, and then as Highway to Heaven, and this. It's just a fantastic career he was taking. I think it was still in his 50s, I believe,
Yes.
when
Young.
he left.
53?
53, 54. Yeah.
You know.
He spent well over, he spent more than 30 years in prime time as a major television star. He had an extraordinary career, not only because he was a wonderful actor, because that's the heartthrob that Michael Landon was, but he was so gifted in so many other areas.
And disciplined.
Oh my God! Yeah, he was amazing. He was remarkable in the totality of his understanding of what he was doing.
And his personality just seemed to come across in all those roles. I'm not sure if that was his. Part of it was his realized personality.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely who he was. You can't hide who you are on television when you're in front of the camera for 30 years. The audience is going to see who you really are, and that's who he.
Doesn't lie.
Yeah, and that's who he was. He was awesome.
That's what the camera does. It's adding 10 pounds to me right now. So
Oh, well, all of us. What are you talking about?
Yeah, great.
Now, I'm thinking of, you've got a following here. I wouldn't call it a cult following, but in a little bit, it's kind of like being on Star Trek, where you're expected to be Almanzo, you're expected to be, Eliza Jane. So, are you able to move out and about without much harassment?
I mean, away from situations like this?
Yeah.
I think, we are so closely associated with this, and in this context, it's very special. But, in our lives now, I don't know, Lucy may be mobbed going to the grocery store, but, I can walk around very freely. I don't feel like my life is impinged upon at all. I can work in completely different ways, and I'm just doing my job and working and living. And occasionally I get the wonderful surprise of coming back to this. And so it's always a blessing.
And you've kept it as part of your life here with the documentaries and so on.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's been very important to me to make a contribution to it, because Little House gave me an enormous amount, and to be able to give something back to it and continue to participate in it has just been an amazing gift.
Yeah, I think any actor would just love to have one role that he can be remembered for.
Absolutely.
That's got to be the case with you guys.
Totally. For me, this is definitely it. Lucy, you
And
feel
have
that
it
way?
based on people who
real
actually
people,
lived
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
and did something with their lives. Yeah.
Does it put a little pressure on you, though, to behave in public when people know who you are and who you were portrayed on TV?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, I mean, if you're in 7-Eleven and you don't have any makeup on and you look like you just, I don't know, have been cleaning the barn or something, and then somebody will say, "Don't I know you?" It's like,
Yes, but you were just a humble school marm, so so they don't expect you to be all made up. And,
I know, but you want to look nice
Yeah.
in the public.
and Dean, have you had to behave more than you probably would have otherwise?
Well, I think I've always been pretty well behaved in my life anyway, but I have taken the responsibility of this it's very real for me because it's so real for so many people all over the world. I don't think there's no reason to conflict perception
Right.
by, I mean, I'm not inclined to act out, so it's not a problem for me.
I think you're too young to remember the guy, but I'm sure Lucy remember Hopalong Cassidy.
Oh yeah,
William Boyd. And before he got that role, he was kind of a rowdy guy. And once he got that role and he had all these little kids,
Oh, he had to settle down.
he became that person. He wanted to live a life that those little kids could say, hey.
Sure, that's
there's
Hopalong Cassidy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, it's great. I congratulate both of you folks for showing up here today. This has got to be a fun day for both of you.
Oh,
A lot of work, hectic.
absolutely.
It's fun to be part of a celebration like this, and I think it's great that Lucy could make her first Wilder site visit on the
know.
day that a new schoolhouse is
terrific.
dedicated. It's
Yeah.
really special.
didn't
I
bring your
wonder
bell,
who
though.
thought of that.
I think this is when they first told me about the schoolhouse project, and the thinking on this started 3, 4, 5 years ago. I said, when this is dedicated, we have to have Lucy come here, and gratefully she was available and agreed to come.
Yeah, so you keep in
Yeah.
contact semi-regularly? Or?
Yeah, it's not constantly, but we can always get to each other.
You're aware of where you're...
Sure, we can always get to
Yeah.
each other. So it's good.
All right. Anything else that we should know here before I move on to Bill?
I think you should move on to Bill.
He's the expert.
He's the
Yeah,
expert.
Bill is the expert.
Academically, yes.
There is no greater authority for this material than Bill
Where is
Anderson.
he?
He is, well, they can stop the camera.
Bill has departed here.
But
missing.
Bill is an amazing authority on this material, and he's written
I see
extensively
him.
on it, and he discusses it with great love and affection.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
he's
terrific.
Okay.
right over there.
All right, there he is. There he is, hiding in the background.
Nice to meet you.
All right, same here. Thank you.
Calvin, thank you very
All
much
right, thank you.
for chatting with us.
Great talking to both of you.
Okay.
And here he is. When I heard Bill Anderson was going to be here, I started singing all those great songs, and I'm sure you've been told that before.
Yeah, but on my books I'm William Anderson.
Oh,
so
okay.
No mixture. I can't sing.
Okay, you came here, you said, in 1987 for the first time.
No.
No.
My family,
Uh-oh.
when I was a kid, we were on vacation in New England from our home in Michigan, and we stopped by Malone because it was the scene of Farmer Boy. This is long before the television show evolved, but the books were staples in classrooms, and I heard about them in school, loved them. The books are in 40 or 50 languages. They've sold like 60 million copies.
And the TV show is on different countries, isn't it?
Yes,
Around the world?
Dean Butler will tell you that the television show is seen more today than it was when it was in prime time here in the USA. So our first visit to the Farmer Boy site was simply to look at the old house, which was in quite a state of disrepair. It was still occupied at that time, but it was a thrill nonetheless because that was the original home of Farmer Boy, which was built probably in the 1840s. And then in 87, after many years of hoping and wishing that this place could be preserved, a local organization was formed and they were able to buy the whole farm intact, including the property across the road which borders the Trout River, which was mentioned in the book Farmer Boy. And then very meticulous restoration was done on the farmhouse, and it's in wonderful historical state now and cosmetic state. The book was the guide, of course, because Laura Ingalls Wilder was a very great stickler for detail and description. And when she was working on that book, Almanzo was pushing 80, and he drew maps of the interior of the house, the barns, and the grounds. And those were a blueprint for the restoration here. And he even did the dimensions of the barns. So fortunately, those documents were very helpful when the association set out to restore. And Almanzo never returned here. His family left here in the 1870s, moved to Spring Valley, Minnesota. He went on to Dakota Territory as a homesteader, met and married Laura Ingalls out there in South Dakota, and he never came back here. Laura never saw the place. So we can only conclude that Almanzo must have spent a lot of time simply telling Laura stories and details about growing up here, which she then transferred into her book Farmer Boy. Their daughter, Rose Wilder Lane, was a very well-known author, and Rose came here 3 times. At the time Farmer Boy was being written, Rose made a trip to the east to see her publishers, made a detour up here, visited the house, even met some old neighbors in this area that remembered her dad and his family. And then in later years, Rose lived in Danbury, Connecticut. And with friends, she came up to this area on vacations and stopped by the farmhouse too. So Rose knew the place in its later years.
And she would have lived how late into the 20th century did she?
Rose died in 1968, 82 years old, and she, like the Wilders, were travelers, and she was about ready to make a trip around the world when she died in Connecticut. And one thing about the Wilders, they were movers and shakers. They didn't stay in one place very much, and we wonder why Almanzo's father, James Wilder, left this beautiful farm to go out to Minnesota, where he had another great farm. And the only explanation is that people were going west and looking westward, and they joined that trek going west.
So you listened to Horace Greeley and went
Abs go west, young man. And then Almanzo picked that line up and went to Dakota. Failed, unfortunately, as a wheat farmer there because of drought and bad weather and all kinds of hardships that we read about in the book The First 4 Years. And then he and Laura and their daughter Rose moved to Missouri. And they settled down in the Ozark Mountains, and he established Rocky Ridge Farm there. And I'm sure he used a lot of the techniques that he learned here as a boy on this farm. And the Wilders in Missouri had a mixed product farm like this one was, an apple orchard. They raised livestock and hens and all kinds of cattle and pigs and so on, and crops and fruit and so on. So Almanzo was truly a farmer boy the whole of his life.
Now, your involvement, you just had to get started as a youngster by reading the books, and you follow this along. There's other similar places across the country, particularly in Minnesota and Dakota, right?
There are. The Farmer Boy site is the furthest east, and this is most removed from the heartland of America, where there's a cluster of 6 sites. And many of the people that are here today have followed the whole trek, and they always long to come to this site. This is a separate trip, but one can see the sites of the Ingalls homes in Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, Kansas, and Missouri. So there's quite a trek, covers about 2,000 miles, and people do make this trek every summer.
But this is your favorite place, right?
I think, well, all the places are unique and wonderful, but you know, the beauty of this spot is that there are no encroachments of modern life. Everywhere you look, it's forest or the pristine river, the old farmhouse, gardens. There aren't any advertising signs or modern buildings, and that's, to me, the beauty of it, because it doesn't take too much imagination to make those episodes in the book Farmer Boy come to life.
Yeah, you come here because you're coming off a road that maybe 3 people travel besides the people coming here.
Absolutely.
So
and going over across the to the Trout River must not have changed a whit since the Wilders washed their sheep over there and Almanzo went fishing and swimming and so on.
How does one become the official biographer of the Wilder family?
It just happened. I didn't really intend to write all those books. I've written close to 25 books now.
Wow.
And quite a portion of those have to do with the English or the Wilders or their home sites. And I did a lot of research from their original letters, diaries, journals, manuscripts, which was a treasure trove of information. And I wrote a biography of Laura Ingalls Wilder, a Little House guidebook, Little House Country, on and on. And her publisher, HarperCollins, kept throwing projects at me to do. So I have quite a line of Wilder-related books that I've done. And there always seems to be some new tangent or something new we learn about these people all the time. So history can be very exciting that way.
So those are available on the web. Do you have a personal website that these books are available?
I do. WilliamAndersonBooks.com, and then of course here at the Almanzo Wilder Farm, they have a great variety of Wilder publications, books. People like to buy the book Farmer Boy and the other right here on the spot where it took place. And they have a lot of interesting crafts in the gift shop here, and just lots for the aficionados of Little House.
Yeah, and they have a website too. So
they do.
people
Wonderful
who
website.
Just don't happen to be coming here. If it's in the winter time and you're watching this,
Yeah,
you can go to
That's
that
true.
website. That's there year round, and it's just imagine it's a great experience for you to have hooked up with all this.
it has been. As Dean Butler said, it was life-changing, and once people seem to get involved in the thread of this, it greets you every day in one way or the other with a letter or a phone call or a request, or if you want to go back and review something you think you might have forgotten from the books. The only problem with that is if I might look something up in Farmer Boy, say, oh yeah, that's what I thought. I want to read the whole book again. That's a wonderful book, chock full of foodways of the early people and how they did various tasks on the farm, and you can learn a great deal about North Country farming and life in the 1860s, 70s.
Okay. Well, we won't tie you up anymore. I'm sure your public wants to spend some time with you. We appreciate you taking time to chat with us.
Good to talk with you, and thanks for coming today.
All right. I hope to see you here in the future.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's Mr. William Anderson, author of many, many books regarding the Laura Ingalls and Almanzo Wilder family. And we're just going to wrap it up here. That's okay. You're just part of the picture. We're going to wrap it up here as folks are getting their picture taken with Dean Butler, Eliza Jane, and with William Anderson here. So that's his Hometown Cable's look at the dedication of the brand new one-room schoolhouse here in Burke, New York at the Wilder Homestead. And a lot of places online where you can find out a whole lot more. And I'm sure most of the people watching this are very familiar with Laura Ingalls and the Wilder family through the Little House on the Prairie TV shows. And many people are familiar with it through the books, and a lot of people are familiar with it through both venues. So thanks for watching. My thanks to Judy Castine for running the camera all day. You've been watching viewer-supported local television, Hometown Cable TV, we think is worth your support. Hometown Cable. And I want to congratulate the Berlottis and the Giros for having their youngsters getting the honor of being the honorary Almanzo and Laura for today. Thanks for watching.